Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Thank you again for joining me here for the podcast, Break Free from Your Monkey Mind. This is season 2, episode 5, and I'm Tony Gordon. And this week we're going to be looking at awareness, in particular self-awareness. In some as a coaching therapist, it's quite prominent, especially working with clients who don't always actually realise what I mean by that or know how to improve it themselves. So that's what we're going to look at today. And start with a sort of definition of it. Self-awareness means, one definition is the habit of paying attention to the way you think, feel, and behave. It's a really good way of looking at it. Or the conscious knowledge of our own character and feelings. Or it's the experience of discovering consciousness and your identity. Well, they're all sort of correct. One thing with self-awareness, as we age and we gain more experience, our self-awareness changes, it constantly evolves as we do. So it goes through ups and downs, whatever life throws at us. It means looking for sort of patterns or trends in the way that we think, how we perceive what happens, how we explain things to ourselves, make sense of the world around us. So it's simple, like the thoughts that come into your head. You can be sitting at any time of the day and thoughts just come in. What do we do with those thoughts? What do you add to them to change them? So that's the kind of thing you're looking at. How we explain things to ourselves, as I said, it means how to understand our own emotions, moods. Instead of trying to avoid or fix how we feel, we observe and just stay curious about feelings, even the difficult, uncomfortable ones. So it's just like acknowledging that you've got these thoughts. You're going to accept them. And then it's what you do from then. Do you think through them? Do you turn them into, it says, an emotion? Or do you just let them go because they're not something that's really relevant to you at that moment in time? Now, it means paying attention to what or how we tend to act and behave in certain situations. But that, I mean, is depending on how a thought comes or something says something to you, and how your mind reacts to that is how you'll react. And maybe not always in the right way. So you have to be aware of what you're actually doing when a thought comes in and how it's actually the intention behind that thought to you so that you know how to react with it. Because we always have our own default responses to things. We have habits, tendencies that certain things you know annoy you or you don't like, so you will react in a certain way. This is looking at how we deal with that. What are these things? How can we change that? One of the things to try to look at then for this is, what are the benefits of being self-aware? If I say a client to do that, said that what we're trying to do then, so they can understand their feelings, their emotions, the thoughts that they have all the time, I'd like them to become more self-aware, to do certain tasks, which I'll come to later about how you can improve it. But it's just asking them to look at these things, to look at themselves in a certain way, to look at a perspective of themselves. Now, it's really hard to define how important then self-awareness is. What I'm going to just look at now is a few different pointers that I've picked up from it, just that tells you the most common positives about increasing your self-awareness and how that can benefit. One thing is better relationships. If we're more self-aware, our relationships can become better. It's difficult to ask what we want and need in a relationship when you're not very clear about those things yourself. So if you don't have an understanding of why you meet someone or what it is you want from them, then that can be difficult for the things to work or to last. That's why I say that you evolve, your self-awareness evolves over time, because how you interact with the person, maybe when you first meet them, is not always the same as time goes by. Things change, people change. So how we interact with each other also changes. What's more, if you're less self-aware, it's easier to get defensive. Now, we interact with people, they said some things that maybe not bother you now, but as you get older, it may change. People keep repeating themselves, or if they're not explaining the things in a way that you feel is understandable for you, or even they're just doing things that's not equal in your values or your morals, then you can really react badly because you don't like that. It's not the way you want. But if you're self-aware, you can understand that where your perception is and your values and your morals, your beliefs in life are not the same as everybody else. So by putting yours onto them, you're putting like your map of the world onto them, the way you see the world, not necessarily how they do. So being more self-aware allows you to be more compassionate with yourself And it allows you then to help other people to understand how you think, but also to understand them so you don't react in a certain way. So if you want to improve your relationship, start by trying to become more self-aware, taking the time to think more about what triggers you. I wouldn't be that is there certain things that people say and say that annoys you, or actions they do that you don't like. Be aware of them. There may be even ways you can approach it and speak to them. So you say that these things don't really know why they do things a certain way, or maybe if you identify that, you can talk about it and come to a common ground. Also, if you're self-aware, it improves the mood you're in. And moods and how we tend to feel, even minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, are largely dependent on how we choose to think and behave. So once we think of these thoughts, we give them an emotion, and then we react on that, or we act on it. That's what we do. That's what helps us to decide our mood. So when we improve our awareness, the relationship between the thoughts, the behaviors, and the emotions, they become easier to actually put together to regulate them. And it means your mood swings, like sometimes you can have a good and a bad bit of the day, more likely to keep a good part than the bad, but at least if it is, you're down a wee bit during the day, you're more aware of it and why. So it should be easier to put things in place to prevent that. Another thing it actually does is make you clearer thinking. I presume what I mean by that really is a better decision maker. Because poor decision making for you will often come with muddled thinking. If you've got not got real clarity in your head, if you've got too many thoughts going around at one time, and you end up with strong emotional reactions because you become frustrated, or you've just got too much there, you become agitated. So this helps you to actually do that. Maybe clutter-free, declutter. You think about it, get rid of some of them with the feelings, get rid of some of the thoughts you don't really need, letting them go if they're no use to you. That's a way of sort of decluttering. Now, if a room's untidy, or an office or a desk even, if this is really untidy in here, I'd be like that, because my mind would just go, I'm quite anal that way. I have all my pens or colour pens, sit out pens, book in front of me here, mouse, everything's in its own place. But that's like my mind then. I feel as if I've got clarity of my workspace, my mind when I'm here is the exact same. I've got clarity in that. I don't allow those other thoughts to come in at that moment. I just acknowledge they're there, except if I have to do that. If I don't need them, I can let them go, or put it back and say, I'll deal with that later. It doesn't have to be dealt with now. So it makes it more easy to distinguish between short-term impulses or desires, urges, or what your long-term values and goals are. Is it worth losing your temper, getting annoyed at that time and making the wrong decision because you're just not being aware of what you're thinking? Or would it be more beneficial just to take that few seconds to be more aware and allow you to keep walking towards your goals, your aspirations, things more long-term, and keeping to your own values? That's something we'll come to later. If you are more aware then, and you've done these things, you're thinking more, you're thinking clearer, you've got that clarity in your mind, you've not got as many thoughts going through, it will mean you communicate much better, much clearer, more effective. You get a clearer sense of what you believe and what you really want. Makes it far easier to communicate that to others, especially in every aspect of your life, whether it's with your partner, your wife, your husband, friend, whoever, manager at work, colleague. The better you know ourselves, the better we know what we're like, the easier it is to communicate, and to communicate assertively as well. To be honest about what we would like and respect, especially the wishes of others. Respect them, but you want them to respect yours as well. So more aware you are of what you're saying and how you say it, the tonality you use, the words you use. It makes things a lot better when you're communicating with people. And if you've got that more clarity, you're communicating better, your relationships with colleagues, friends, whatever, are much better. It means you're more productive as well. Productive in your personal life, you maybe, because you're clearer and you're getting things done when you need to be done, the time when you're not working on that is yours. So you're clear as well about what you want to do, what kind of things you can do, whether it's hobbies or leisure things. Sometimes just giving yourself that time to just chill a little bit. Mine would be listening to music, read a book. Anything would be great if you just want that. If I want to get out, I want to play golf, I want to get out with friends, go for a nice meal with my wife. All these things you can do because you're more aware of what you're doing and help to get done in the time you need, but you're aware of what time you need for you. Put that time aside as well. that's just for you. The most common cause of being lack of productivity, I suppose, is procrastination. And poor productivity is a lack of commitment, wasn't interference from ourselves, because if you get so many thoughts going around, it's what if this happens, what if that happens, I don't know if I want to do that, what if I don't do this? All these things can be intercepted, just being stop, being aware of what you're saying, being aware to think, okay, what do I have to do? Be a bit clearer and saying, right, this is what I need to do. Putting it down so you can see it and saying, right, that's what I've got to do, each part. Because when you struggle to get work, or it's usually because on some level, your thoughts, your emotions, again, are habits, they just get in the way. So by maybe writing things down or having that to-do list and tick it off as you do them, it gives you that clarity, but it keeps you organized. So not only have you got a clear mind, you've got an organized mind as well. And it helps improve your self-awareness because it can eliminate many of, I suppose, hidden obstacles in your productivity. The thoughts that you were putting that were causing the blocks, it stops you doing that. So if we're alert of that, we're more aware of all these things in ourselves. People will also notice that because you come more confident, you're more assertive in what you do. You speak clearer. The communication you have with other people is a lot better. You've got that connection with them. You're not getting yourself worked up with things that's said. You understand it's not really something that's affecting you, so you let it go. Overall, your demeanor is so much better. So just by taking the time to be aware of our thoughts or emotions, it actually makes our life so much better. So what you look at is, how do we improve it then? So if we have got some of these issues, and we do procrastinate a lot, we're not very clear in our thoughts, we let too many things come in, let too things bother us, what kind of things can we do to improve that? What kind of things would help our self-awareness to increase, to allow us to do that? One simple thing is like keeping a journal. If you write down your thoughts, honest, any ideas you've got, anything you can do to explore what's in your mind, explore your awareness, what you're actually doing as well, if you think about it, is removing things from your head. So again, another way of decluttering, just by putting things down, and then you can actually see in black and white, saying, right, okay, did that all really matter? Do I need to do that? No. Why am I thinking that way? And it gives you time to evaluate it without it being in your head and then turn into an emotion. You're looking saying, well, why was I even thinking that? And it's amazing when it's not in your mind all the time. It's not keep going over and over it. It just looks like nothing when you see it down. So some things we can build up to be something aren't really in, and it really helps to write down. Maybe do it in the morning, do it in the evening, whenever it suits you better. I always say clients, at least keep positive things if you can in it. So it's not just about self-aware, but another word, I suppose for me, self-awareness for me is reflection. If I reflect at the end of a day and become aware of how did I act to things that day, what did I do that day, what was positive about it, did I react in a certain way, have I improved how I've done it, am I more aware of how I'm doing that, write them down, and you celebrate the little wins. Like, for example, we said earlier, if certain things someone does annoy you, but you become more aware of it, you don't react that way. So you get that down, that's a win for you, because your relationship will have improved because you're not biting at them. You're not getting annoyed at some things that might seem silly to them, although it didn't to you. Just by taking that consideration, then you're not reacting that way. It improves that. And you celebrate that by yourself and saying, well, I've done well today because look what I've done. And then again, read them again back in the morning before you start a new day. One that's fresh in your mind about how you react and a good way of going forward. But also sometimes, because you've slept on it, you'll actually realise you've actually got more to celebrate when you thought. There's more to it than that. So try that at night and try it in the morning and do a bit of journaling. Pay attention to what bothers you, especially about other people. As I said earlier, when we let things get on top of us or under our skin, as we say, because someone says something or does something, we need to be aware of what that is and how we improve it. Often things they say that irritate us are simple things that maybe qualities of that could be reflecting us. What I mean is we all have aspects of ourselves that we're not proud of, or we get a tendency to maybe bend the truth at certain times. Or maybe we avoid conflict, especially some people avoid it like the plague. Don't want to say something to someone because it could annoy them with that, but you don't actually know, you just got that concern, I just don't want to face it if there's any hassle, when it could have solved so much for you just by saying something at that moment in time. we always end up, if you do that, you can end up feeling a bit like a doormat or getting used by other people because you don't have your voice. So being a bit more self-aware may allow you to do that and have that voice. There's always things that we can look at. We don't know how or believe it's possible to change things like that, but we can end up doing the next best thing. We may not be able to change everything, but not thinking about them. And well, ignorance can feel a bit like bliss, isn't really helping, not in the long term. So you need to be acknowledging, accepting these thoughts and everything, but let them go if they don't matter to you. So whenever someone does something that seems to particularly annoy or irritate you, just ask yourself, I'm not saying, but could this be a reflection of something in me? Something I dislike? Do I do some sort of version like that? Because a lot of the time that can be the issue, that we look at someone else, but actually it's our own things that's reflecting. And if you think, if it annoys you in that person, are we doing the same thing? Are we annoying someone else because of that? That's something to consider. Another great thing for it, and I've mentioned this plenty of times throughout the last two series, is either meditation or mindfulness. Now, mindfulness during the day especially can be such a big thing because it doesn't take long. You can do 5-10 minutes. I think we used an example in it was episode 2 of the first series when Lynn Lawless, someone from HSBC, was on her first direct, and she explained how during the day that they do it at work, they'll have like a 10-15 minute session, and it clears someone up from the first half of the day and reinvigorates them, regenerates them for the second half of the day. But then also did a great thing. She did a thing with her family each night before they go to bed. And a bit like I said about the journaling, well, they do that with mindfulness. They do a little exercise and it clears your mind completely from one day. So you start the new day with a clean slate. And I thought that was a great thing. Now, most people have heard of like mindfulness, but don't really know what it is. It's just a non-judgmental way to see yourselves and to be supposed to look at self-awareness. It's a simple practice of keeping your attention focused. Keep it focused on your breath and some other sort of physical sensations. Then if you notice your mind wandering other thoughts, you just gently return your attention back to what you're supposed to be focusing on. And it can be a very powerful way just to increase your level of self-awareness. Now, remember one thing is so important. Keep talking here about thoughts and nothing until you turn into something, because you're not your thoughts. Thoughts aren't nothing unless we give them an emotional action and do something with them. So if they don't matter to you, you don't need to worry about them. It's all too often we lack self-awareness because we actually overthink. And overthinking can be such a problem for people. You can easily get yourself so mixed up with your own thoughts. As I said earlier, it just stops any clarity. It makes you procrastinate. So just take the time to do that little bit of mindfulness and it will stop that from happening. Next one was something that was really, for me, it was quite important. And it's getting feedback. Because when I started to think about it, in the job I was in before, you got feedback all the time. People would just tell you what they thought at that time, or they might send stuff to you. Your management would feedback to you, other colleagues. But how often do we actually ask for it? So other people giving us it. But how often do you actually ask for feedback about yourself? I mean, it could be personally or professionally. Because I say, if you're anything like me, or like most people, I suppose, you probably don't. Which is a bit of a shame because feedback is probably the best way of improving and one of the quickest ways that we can improve and grow as a person. Because if people tell us that things are, as long as constructively, and let you know things then that we could improve on, then why not do it? If it's ways that can make things better for us in a relationship with other people, why not take it on board? But people get a habit of preferring positive, affirming kind of feedback. Now, I said they're constructive. Constructive doesn't always mean positive, but we tend to actually be okay giving positive feedback or even receiving it. Some people don't actually like receiving positive feedback, but we're not very good at giving or taking negative feedback. But I said, as long as it's done in a constructive manner, then it's there being done with the right intention to help you. And there are many aspects of ourselves that we could use to improve. It's just part of ourselves, and sometimes we have blind spots, just parts that we don't see in ourselves, but other people do. Sometimes it can be the way you speak as well, or your actions that you do. So just listen out for that. Next time you've got a session, maybe rather than trying it personally, maybe you don't feel right first, we'll do it in work. Just say, oh, well, say we worked on this piece together. How do you think it went on? Could I have done anything different for you? Is there any way you'd like me more to deliver it, or how to feed it back to you next time? Just ask and see what people say. You might be surprised. You might actually get a lot more positive feedback than you think. Now, there's different ways of doing it. You can ask for feedback if you've got a solid relationship with them. So maybe it's a colleague at work, it could be personal if it suits you better, maybe a best friend, maybe your partner, spouse, whatever. Someone you know you've got a long-term relationship with, you've had, that you know whatever you speak about, these are both honest enough with the answers. That could be a good one. But start small. Don't try anything too big. Just initially a small sentence about how you do. They're more likely to tell you more confidently about something like that. If it's something major or something bigger, you need to work your way up to that, how you're going to put that, especially if you're going to put something to them with it and you're hoping to get the feedback about you. So just wait and see, try it out and see how it goes. And if there is more important things you want to ask about, well, how did I come across, whatever, then do that. But remember to take whatever they say well. Avoid being defensive about it, because most people are giving you it for a good reason, and that's to help you. And it should be okay to take that. It's normal to feel awkward. It's normal to feel hurt sometimes if people give you that feedback that you don't think is right. But just take it on board and think it through first before you react to anything. Just try your best just to acknowledge it and say thank you. Thank you for giving the feedback to you. And just say to them, I'll look at it and I'll see what I can do about that. You let them know at least you're going to try. But things that can cause that a lot, something is you should look at is called identify cognitive distortions. Big fancy words. Cognitive distortions basically are the inaccurate thoughts or beliefs that we have. It just warps how we see things, including ourselves. And that's why it's good to get feedback so you don't have that. But we can all get into unhelpful physical habits or things like, for example, nail biting, snacking throughout the day or the night when you shouldn't really be doing that. You don't need it, but you just have it of doing it. But we all have mental habits as well, and they don't do us any favors. Like, for example, whenever something upsets us, like, for example, someone gave, if you're stuck, maybe at a traffic jam, and you think you're just getting clear and somebody cuts in front of you. I mean, how often do people start screaming, shouting? You see it all the time. How often do you do it? Do you get angry? Do you call them names? Things like that. You let your behaviour in that moment just take over instead of just being aware of you doing that, because you're saying they're like a jerk for doing it. But how do you actually sound when you do it? Do you sound any better than what they did for cutting you up? Probably not. Some people might make them feel good at the time, but it's not a way that you want other people to see. And sometimes if you do that, it becomes a habit. And then you've got somebody in the car, like a friend or a child or something, and you still act that way. How do you feel then when you realise that they've just seen you doing that or heard the language you're using? So that's why when it becomes a habit, it can be a dangerous thing. So try not to do these things, because you never know who's going to be there with you or who's going to hear you. So try more cognitive restructuring. So basically think more positive things, think more accurate thinking, be more aware of what you're saying. Here's something, how often do you actually make time to really, really consider what your values are? Now, I said earlier, I'll come back to this, because sometimes being self-aware is we need to make sure that everything fits in our values, but other people might not do things, or they do things that don't fit our values. But how often do we actually reassess them? Values and beliefs can be like everything else in life. They change as our circumstances change. They change through time. They change through our experiences. They change through changes in our life. Maybe when you get married, you have a child, you change jobs, all these different things your values can change with. And yet it's quite a surprise that we don't do that. We set goals for ourselves, and we can set them, and sometimes they become more difficult to achieve or to get the satisfaction of getting them because our values have changed. So the goals will probably change. We need to be more careful, more prone to look at our own values and assess them. What's more, it's probably not surprising that we end up chasing artificial goals. The culture, society tell us that are maybe things like bigger house, nicer car, bigger car, being slimmer, basically conforming with everything else, but you always want to, what do they call it again? Living up to the Joneses, at least we're all saying. So basically, if they get something, you want to get it, but you want to get something better than them. Doesn't feel good when you're really doing that, but that's what happens to you. You get in these situations to do that. So a form of self-awareness involves becoming aware of and clear about the things that really matter in our lives. And that's what your values are. Why are we here? What is it we're called to do? What makes it more fulfilling life? And what can we really truly proud of it to do? They're big questions and they sound intimidating, but it's probably because you don't spend that much time on them. You don't look at them. I said earlier, we've all got time. You've got to put time by for yourself. So here's something to try. Put in your calendar or your diary online. Find 30-minute time slot. Maybe once a week, once a day if you can do it, whatever. But setting up a recurring thought and just look at your values. Maybe you prefer to do it monthly. Weekly, you can just look at things you've done, put that down, keep a note. So at the end of the month, you've got one session where you're looking back in each week and see what things you've put down. Notice if your values have changed each week. Notice over the month how much of a difference they are, if at all, and keep that up each month. And then at the end of the year, you reevaluate it. So every month you set goals and your values. And at the end of the year, look and see if you've achieved the goals you set out. And if so, did your values coincide with it or did they change? It's quite amazing when you see the results of something like that. So much so that it's an episode to discuss on its own. So in a few weeks' time, I'll actually do a full episode just on values, and I'll explain how you can do them, how you work it out, and then what you do with them and what you need to do to improve the ones you've got or how they can change. There's no right way or wrong way of doing it. It's just whatever suits you. What is important is that you give yourself the opportunity to think about it. And I said, you could be actually really amazed at what happens. Now, just take a cap on that. So if you are self-aware, you're clearer, better communicator, better relationships, all around you going better with people and you feel better about yourself. Reassess your values each month like this. So each week, put something down on what you've done, what your goal is you're aiming for. And then every month, set aside a time every month to note all of that down. And at the end of the year, you can reevaluate that and see where your goals are and your values are and see how much they've changed. So self-awareness basically is the way we observe ourselves. How we take notice, pay attention to patterns or thoughts, feelings and behaviours. Some of us have more or less all about to start really. But there are plenty of straightforward exercise that people can do to keep improving them, to get an advantage of your own self-awareness. No matter what it stands right now, you can always improve them. It's a skill that we all have, we just don't all utilise. So thank you for joining me today. I'd like to give some credit for a lot of this. I got a lot of this today from reading up on and listening to a psychologist called Nick Wignall. That's Wignall, Nick Wignall. He has a podcast called Minds and Mics. So it's Minds, M-I-N-D-S, and Mics is M-I-C-S. Why not have a listen? He's got a lot of really good things on there as well. And maybe just look at this, look at your awareness yourself. So next time you get a thought come through your head, see how you're aware of it. Next time you react in a certain way, reevaluate that and say, was I aware how I was doing that? Could I do it differently? So thank you and take care of yourselves for this week. Next week, I've got a special guest. She'll be coming on to look at things that's happened in her life, but some tough things that she went through, but it's made her who she is now. It's made her into the person she is now. And she'll explain all that to you next week. So thank you so much for joining me today and take care of yourselves. Look after yourselves and your families, and I'll speak to you again. Thank you very much. Bye.